talk about consumer debt. We're going to talk about credit cards and loans. Okay, so general credit card overview. So credit cards can be a very useful financial tool. They allow you to purchase items now and pay for them at a later date, which can be very handy. But they have a dark side. They can generate a massive amount of debt when used without proper care. So here's how a credit card works. And as I said at the start of this unit, many of you may know this, but many of you may not. So don't, I'm not trying to, like, you know, be condescending about it. I'm just going to go through it even if you already know it. All right, so as long as you pay the balance that's due before the payment due date, everything you purchased is interest-free, no finance charges, as long as you pay the whole balance off at the end of the month. If you carry a balance forward to the next month, so you don't pay everything that's due, but you make a minimum payment or any amount less than the full balance, you incur a finance charge on the previous balance, plus any new purchases made during the next billing cycle. So a finance charge is based on an interest rate. And your next statement balance is your previous balance minus your payment, plus any new purchases, plus finance charges. So the finance charge is based off of two pieces of information: your average daily balance and your periodic interest rate. All right, so your periodic interest rate is the number of days in the month divided by 365 times your APR, which is written as a decimal. So the APR is the thing that your credit card will advertise. You know, you have an APR of 18% or something. And to get your periodic interest rate, you have to know it varies month to month because months have different numbers of days. So we have to figure out how many days are in that month, and then you figure out what fraction of a year that is, multiply by your APR. Then you take your average daily balance, which is the sum of your daily balances. So you look at your balance every single day of the month, add them all up, and divide by the number of days in the month. That's called your average daily balance. And then your finance charge is your periodic interest rate, what we calculated up here, times your average daily balance. All right, so for example, let's suppose you have a credit card that has a 19.99% APR. Sounds very high, but it's very, very common to have high interest rates on credit cards. Your billing cycle starts on the 20th of every month and ends on the 19th of the next month. So suppose that so far you've been good about paying your balance in full each month, but now it's the end of November, you have to do some Christmas shopping. So between November 20th and December 19th, you put $1,000 on your credit card for gifts. But when the bill comes, you can only afford to pay $300. So you pay $300 and you're going to carry forward a balance of $700 to the next billing cycle. So in the next billing cycle, which is December 20th to January 19th, you make a few more purchases. You do a little last minute shopping 2 days before Christmas. And then January 1st, you buy Tylenol and Gatorade. I don't know why you would need those on January 1st. And then January 10th, you buy some gas for your car, right? All right, so let's calculate the periodic interest rate for December 20th to January 19th. All right, so up here, this is how we calculate periodic interest rate. Number of days in the month. So how many days are there December 20th to January 19th? How many days are in December? 31. So the 20th to the 31st would be how many days? 11. Plus 19 more in January is 30. So this is 30 days. So my periodic interest rate is the number of days in the month, in this case is 30, divided by 365 times my APR, which is the advertised interest rate of 19.99%, as a decimal. So I multiply by 0.1999. Okay, so 30 over 365, and then multiply that times 0.1999. This is my periodic interest rate, 0.0164. I'll just round it there, 0.0164. All right, so let's look at my average daily balance. So this seems like it would take a long time to calculate. You have to look at your balance every single day of the month, right? Add them up. So you have 30 balances, one for each day. Add them all up and divide by 30. But your balance is the same for many days in the month. So you can use multiplication to do the repeated addition. So if we make a little table where we'll put in dates, the daily balance on those dates, and number of days. Okay, so for December 20th to January 19th, from the 20th to the 22nd, my balance was just this $700 that I carried over from the previous month. So I'm going to put in 1222. Oops, sorry, 1220 to 1222. My balance each of those days was $700, which means how many days is that? No, 3. The 20th, 21st, and 22nd, 3 days. All right, and then on the 23rd, I made another purchase. So starting on 12/23 and until 12/31, because I make a new purchase on the 1st. So 12/23 to 12/31, I spent another $134.76. So I have to add that to my $700 balance. So my daily balance for these days is now $834.76. And how many days was that my balance? 8, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 9. All right, and then on the 1st, I made another purchase, so 1/1 until 1/9. My balance goes up a little bit. I have to add $14.22 to my previous balance, this $834.76 plus $14.22. I get $848.98. And how many days was that? January 1st to January 9th? 9. 1st, 2nd, no, it started on the 1st. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. 9 days with that balance. I think so. Did I press record? Yep. Thanks. It's okay. Okay, and then on January 10th, I make another purchase, so 1/10 until the end of this billing cycle, which is 1/19. Now I just have to add $43.57 to my previous balance. So my balance for the last 9 days of the billing cycle, sorry, 20 days of the billing cycle, is $892.55, and that's 10 days. And really, if you have trouble like doing the subtraction and figuring out how many days it is, just count them. It's not that many to count. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 10 days. All right, so then to calculate my average daily balance, what I'm supposed to do is add up my balance each day and then divide by the number of days. But my balance is the same for big chunks of time, so I'm going to say, well, my average daily balance is 700 times 3. So the 3 days my balance was $700 plus 834.76 times 9. Because that was my balance for 9 days. So this is like adding 834.76 9 times, once for each day that was the balance. Plus 848.98 times the number of days that was the balance, which is 9. And then one more plus 892.55 times 10. And then we have to take all of that and divide by the number of days in this month, which we said is 30. So I'll have my calculator do all this. 700 times 3 plus 834.76 times 9 plus 848.98 times 9 plus 892.55 times 10. 26,179.16. Divide that by the number of days in the month. So my average daily balance over those 30 days is $872.64. So, and it makes sense, it should come out to some number between the beginning, like the lowest balance and the highest balance over the course of that month. It started at 700 and it finished at 892.55. So on average, each day, my balance was 872.64. All right, so if I want to calculate the finance charge, now I have my periodic interest rate and I have my average daily balance. And to get the finance charge, you just multiply your periodic interest rate times your average daily balance. So I'm just going to multiply 0.0164 times 872.64. $14.31. So that's how we calculate the finance charge. So let's calculate the new balance that's going to appear on the bill for the next billing cycle. Right? So we had our balance at the end of the month was $892.55. Right? Our previous 700 plus our new purchases. Then we have to add the finance charge. So 892.55 plus 1431. And I didn't make any payments this month, so if I did, I would subtract a payment here too. 892.55 plus 1431, 906.86. Okay, here's one question. Did they? 9 and 9 is 18, and 3 is 21, and 10 is 31. Okay, so December 20th to January 19th. The 20th to the 31st is 12 days. Start with the 20. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. I did it wrong. This is 31 days. So it's 31, which means that my average daily balance I should have divided by 31. Oh, I love it when I make mistakes. Do this again. Divided by 31. So my average day balance is actually 844.49. So now I'm going to change this number. Yes, it will. It will also change the periodic interest rate. This should be 31 over 365. .017. We'll just call that 0.017. .017 times 844.49. 1436. Ooh. Now that 892, yeah, that's right. 892.55 plus 1436. 906.91. All right, good. No, that's okay. No, I'm glad you pointed it out. That's good. 5 cents off, yeah. Okay, so now you're going to try one. I've given you all the info you need, and you are going to do the same steps we just did. Find the periodic interest rate, the average daily balance, the finance charge, and then the new balance. All right, so I started this chart where I put in all the insignificant dates and a couple of the daily balances. So our billing cycle starts on the 26th of every month. So I'm working starting on August 26th. And I carried, the question said I carried a balance forward from the previous month of $5,000. So the 26th, until I make a purchase or a payment, my balance is $5,000. And then on the 31st, I made a purchase, which is changing the balance. It's going to change how much I owe the credit card company, right? So on the 31st, I made a $148.55 purchase. So that is starting on the 31st, I have a new balance, right? And I have that balance until the 11th, when I make another purchase of what, $30? $30. On the 12th, I make a purchase of $30. So starting on the 12th, I'm going to have a new balance of $5,178.55. That's 7 days, the 12th to the 18th. All right, and then on the 19th, I make a purchase of what? $103.99. So I have to add $103.99 to my previous balance. What do I have then? Okay, good. 3 days, 19th, 20th, and 21st. All right. So then, so this is now how much I owe the credit card company, right? I owed them $5,000. Now I owe them $5,282.54. I say, okay, I'm going to pay some of this. I'm going to pay them $200, right? So once I make a $200 payment, now I owe them $5,082.54. I made a $200 payment, so my balance comes down by $200. And 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, that's 4 days. All right, so I got to calculate my average daily balance. It's 31 days, yep. So I have to multiply my balance times the number of days I carried that balance. So I have $5,000. I carried that balance for 5 days. And then $5,148.55, that was my balance for 12 days. And then $5,178.55, that was my balance for 7 days. And then $5,282.54, that was my balance for 3 days. And then I made a payment, my balance came down to $5,082.54 for 4 days. And I have to divide all of that by 31 days in the month. And that tells me on average what my balance was each day of the month. That's not what my actual balance was, right? My balances are all listed in this chart up here. This is giving me an average balance of how much I owed the credit card company on any given day. Okay, so we've got 5,000 times 5 plus 5148.55 times 12 plus 5178.55 times 7 plus 5282.54 times 3 plus 5082.54 times 4. And then I'm going to divide that by 31. So if I were to pick a day at random of my 31-day month, on average, I would have owed the credit card company $5,135. Right? This is my average daily balance, $5,135.80. We'll say 2 cents because credit card companies are always going to round this up to get a bigger finance charge out of you. So $5,135. My average balance over the course of that month, each day. All right, so that's number now. 5,135.82. So there's my average daily balance. Now I got to do my periodic interest rate. I skipped that. So my periodic interest rate is 31 divided by 365, number of days in the month divided by 365, times your APR, which is 21.99 as a decimal, 0.2199. It's like 0.018. Okay. So we're doing some rounding. Your credit card company would not round anything, right? They would have big Excel spreadsheets that do all of this so that it'll carry all the decimals. But just for the purpose of knowing how it works, it's okay if we round it. All right, so now the interest charged, that's the same thing as the finance charge. Those are synonyms. Finance charge, interest charged are the same thing. You calculate by taking your average daily balance times your periodic interest rate. 92.44? Is that what we said? No? Okay, let's do it again. 5135.82 times 0.018. 92.44. Okay, it could be a rounding thing. It could be a rounding thing. If we do 31 divided by 365 times 0.2199, you get 0.01867, right? If you multiply that, like without doing any rounding, times your average daily balance, it actually comes out to 95.91. Is that better? So if you get somewhere around there, but not exactly, it's probably because you rounded something a little differently than 96.04. What did you use as your decimal? There you go, 9604. So you rounded it, I didn't, and we came out 13 cents apart. Okay, so rounding can make a pretty big difference. When you're carrying big balances, it can. Like I said, your credit card company would not round. So I'll use the most exact one where I didn't round anything. 95, 91, 92. If you get somewhere between 94 and 96, you did it right, right? Okay. You just rounded a little differently than I did. All right, to calculate my new balance on the account at the end of the billing cycle, I have to say what was my old balance, right? It was $5,000, right? So new is equal to the old balance plus any purchases minus any payments plus fees, right? Or interest, however you want to think of that. So my old balance was $5,000 plus purchases, which are all listed in this table. I could add them all up, right? So I'll do that. 148.55 plus 30 plus 103.99. 282.54. So I had a balance of 5,000. I made some purchases. Then I made a payment. But then I have to add on my fees that I just calculated, 95.92. 5,000 plus 282.54 minus 200 plus 95.92. Oh, it's supposed to be 282.54. $5,178.46. So I want you to notice you made a $200 payment and you paid almost $100 in fees. So that $200 payment, half of it is going towards paying interest on your credit card. So that's how you can get buried in credit card debt very quickly, right? So when you don't pay off the whole balance, much of your payment, often a lot more than half, is just paying interest and interest fees, and not the original principal that you use the credit card for. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is an installment loan. All right, an installment loan is the type of loan that you would take out to finance a big ticket item like a car or a house. So these loans are different from credit card debt because the loan is for a fixed amount, right? So you must pay a certain amount every month, and you can't continue to use the credit. You can't build a balance on it. The balance just is what it is, and you pay it off by a fixed amount each month over a fixed amount of time. The APR in an installment loan is generally lower than it is for a credit card, and the process of paying off a loan by making regular payments is called amortization. All right, this is the amortization formula, right? It looks bad, but the only variables in it are P, the amount of the loan, right, your initial principal. R is your interest rate, or your APR. T is your number of monthly payments that you want to make. So T is in months, not years. And M is your monthly payment. So if you know how much you want to borrow, what the interest rate is going to be, and how long the loan is going to be, you can calculate M, the monthly payment. So for example, I want to calculate the monthly payments on a car loan, $25,000 at an interest rate of 2.99% over 4 years. So I just plug in the stuff I know, right? My monthly payment, M. P is my $25,000. times, then I've got this big fraction, right? R is my interest rate as a decimal, which is 0.0299 divided by 12. 1 plus 0.0299 divided by 12. Right, and capital T is the number of months. So if I'm doing this for 4 years, how many months is that? 48. So I put a 48 up here for capital T. And then I've got 1 plus 0.0299 over 12 to the 48 minus 1. All right, so it looks messy, right? But all we have to do is just one step at a time, follow the order of operations, which says we should do what first? Stuff in parentheses. And if within parentheses, what should I do first? Add or divide? Divide. Okay. So you'll just do it one thing at a time. So I do the 0.0299 divided by 12 first. Then I have to add 1 to it to finish what's in those parentheses. So I've put 1.002491667. All right, so then what would I do next? Right, now I have this parentheses simplified. The exponent, yeah. Following the order of operations, the next thing would be my exponent to the 48th. Then I would multiply by this 0.0299 over 12. And I should have done the division first because you do division and multiplication left to right, right? So I'm telling my calculator to do that division first by using parentheses. All right, so my numerator simplifies to 0.002807805. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Oh, I forgot my 25,000. Okay, now let's work on the denominator of my fraction. Again, I should start in the parentheses, right? Always do parentheses first. So I take my 0.0299, divide by 12, add 1, raise it to the 48th, and then subtract 1. 0.12687. What's the matter? It's ugly, but it's not hard, right? It's just the order of operations, and I know that all of you know how to do that. So you just do one step at a time. And if you have to write a lot of stuff down, write a lot of stuff down, right? It's fine. Okay, 0.0028078051 divided by 0.12687830022 times 25,000. $553.25. Somebody just asked me a question? Too many questions? Oh. Okay, then you're probably not following the order of operations. Okay, so this time they gave us the monthly payment, right? They told us we want our monthly payment to be no more than $1,200 per month. So I'm going to replace my M in my formula with 1,200. And when they say how much house can you afford, they mean what price of a house can you afford. So that's P that we're looking for. And then I'm going to plug in my interest rate and my 30 years, which is 360 payments. All right, so my interest rate is going to be 0.0475 divided by 12 times 1 plus 0.0475 divided by 12 to the 360 over 1 plus 0.0475 over 12 to the 360 minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to simplify this giant mess, right? It should come out to just one number. So I'm going to get 1200 equals P times whatever this number is. So I'm going to do it all in my calculator. This will help avoid rounding issues and save me time having to write stuff down. So I'm going to work on the numerator first. Okay. And I'm going to follow the order of operations. So I'm going to start in the parentheses and do 0.0475 divided by 12. Then I'm going to add 1 to that. And then I'm going to raise it to the 360. And then I have to multiply by this 0.0475 over 12 times 0.0475 divided by 12. Okay, so that's 0.0164. So I think I might write that down. This is 0.0164119572. So that's my numerator. Now I'm going to work in the denominator. So 0.0475 divided by 12 plus 1 raised to the 360 minus 1. 3.146178.671. Then I'm going to do that division. 0.016411. Okay, and then multiply, and then, oh, okay, yeah, so that's 0.0052164,734. And then to get P by itself, divide both sides by this decimal, right? So I'm going to do 1200 divided by that number. And I get $230,040. 47 cents.